Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Welcome to Zyxel's Tech Talk. My name is Tri Nguyen. I am the product manager and sales manager here at Zyxel North America. Good to have you here to be able to, discuss with me and just interact with me on this exciting topic, the award that we won for our firewall solution. So just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A section and send me questions along the way, and I'll try to answer that in line. Or if we do have time at the end, we will, you can ask questions there as well. So welcome everybody, and let's go ahead and just get started here. So Zyxel Network introduction here, 35 years now in networking expertise, 700 plus employees worldwide, 100 million devices making global connections today with over 1 million businesses using our solutions in 150 different markets. We are a channel arm of the organization, so we work through the channel. So you as partners and resellers will interact with our sales account managers, David Chin, Andy, and Jacob, to manage everything that you need from pre-sales, post-sales, tech support, interactions with the distribution side, stocking, pricing, special pricing, whatever it may be. Um, we are here to help you with your business. And also, just as a reminder as well, we are and currently have a lot of NDAA and TAA compliant SKUs. So all of the Zyxel firewalls and switches and APs are NDAA compliant. And there are some select models that you see here that are TAA compliant, those specific part codes. So you can see that in the price list and when they go active, or maybe in the on the partner side or on the disty side, those, if they do have the Zyxel part codes in there, the ones that say USAM in the part codes are the ones that are TAA compliant. Now we are working on adding additional models to that as well. So you'll see this expanding throughout this year. So on average, in 2025, the global average for WAN internet connectivity is about 210 megabits per second down, 62 megabits up. I think most people have better upload speeds than I do, even though my download speed is about 400 megs here. But with cable modem services, it's only, I think, a 10 to 25, maybe if you're lucky, on the upload speeds. It is growing though, by 20% each year. So we are seeing, even in my services, service offerings at the same price that are going up. So they're offering a little bit more bandwidth, every so often, every year or so. But I think mostly it's to compete, because there are other service providers out there that will provide or give you even faster than gigabit speeds. So actually, more than 50 countries already, they already offer 1 gig or faster internet connectivity. Of course, in the US, we have that as well, but I think on the mainstream, it's might be expensive for most people today because there might not be infrastructure or fiber. But we do see that the global average is going to increase to that speed in just a few years. Some ISPs now are offering 2.5 gig speeds to the business or to the home. I do see advertisements of that all the time. Of course, you can always get a 10 gig speed fiber connectivity, but they tend to be very expensive. So I think 2.5 gig for most businesses and small businesses is going to be more than enough for daily operations. I think the most important piece is probably the upload speed, to make sure that when you have remote users working into the network, that they have enough bandwidth to either download or to access files remotely. But all of this, maintaining high security is a concern, especially if you might have products out there that are, even if they're only like 3 years old, they are probably not made to handle high speed, high security. So the only kind of solution for those is, if they're not upgrading those devices, is to potentially cause a security issue by reducing the amount of security scans or security features that are turned on that, in order to increase the speeds. I think end users kind of lose that concept a little bit, or your customers might be kind of disassociated with that concept, that, well, I'm paying for a 1 gig speed, my expectation is that I should get 1 gig speeds. But because of security, if they want to still maintain that same level of security and high speed security, then they're going to have to either upgrade or have to sacrifice something in order to maintain the speed. So there's a balancing game there. But of course, on the Zyxel perspective, we don't think that you should have to compromise security and for speed. Um, so we do release products that uh, obviously is going to facilitate for that. And with one of our partners, Bitdefender, that we use within our security appliances, they say that cybersecurity threats will continue to challenge us, and it continues to evolve, and we deal with that on a day-to-day basis. New advisories, new threats, new ransomware, new data breaches are on the news. We see that happen all the time. You would think, if it was something that was easily mitigated, once and for all, and eradicated, then it wouldn't be affecting, businesses today. And the businesses have to go and constantly provide and invest in resources in order to increase that cybersecurity stance and be able to take that as a priority. I always talk to partners and say, sometimes security feels like it's almost like an insurance game where you have to have some sort of security just in case because you don't know when or how that might, affect you. And there are many businesses who kind of go the route where, well, it's not going to affect me. My business is way too small for anything to happen. And those are the ones that will probably be most challenged when something does happen because it may cripple the company. If they don't have proper backup, they don't have a proper response plans in place to deal with this kind of situation. And if their servers, maybe all their information is on their laptop or whatever it may be, gets ransomware and they have no access to that, then obviously then they are at the at the mercy of those kinds of things. And in many cases, businesses can actually go out of business because they just don't want to deal with the cost or the headache of trying to bring everything back online again. And if especially defending against things like ransomware as a service that's out there, bad actors can literally go on and create a a ransomware attack, 0-day attack from this kind of service and be able to try to use that to attack different spaces there to get information or tie it into their crypto wallets there and for the ransom that's going to be paid. So it's pretty crazy out there in this world, and many of us who are in the IT know that when you put a you know stateful packet in firewall with UTM services on a public-facing internet IP address, within seconds you're going to get bombarded with all sorts of potential threats. So there are a lot of threats out there that are unknown security threats. They're hidden, they're undetected. Maybe there are different vulnerabilities that are there on protocols that you might not know about. But that's where our products and these kinds of solutions will help with that. Things like sandboxing help to block suspicious traffic. You do sacrifice speed in a sense because if there are certain files that need to be scanned, unknown files that are being sent that need to be sent to the cloud to get analyzed, there is some delay in that. But again, it's a sacrifice of security. It's just like maybe analogy of like a TSA line or something like that. When you travel, you either have to like stand in line. It's going a little slower, but then it's for the better of for security purposes. Otherwise, you can just let everything go and then just risk all the security threats that might be there. Jeff does have a question. Can I upgrade a USG from, let's say, a Flex 100 to a Flex 200 without re-entering the configuration that the Flex 100 has? So it doesn't have right now with the current Flex series, um, maybe an upgrade path from a lower end model to a higher end model for the USG Flexes. The H series though will have that capability. But right now, let's say if you do need to have that upgrade, Jeff, you could contact our support team, and what they will do is they will work with our HQ to generate the kind of the um, the upgrade version. It's mostly because the port configurations on those two products are different. Now, if you were going from a let's say a Flex 100 to a Flex H 100, you could do that, and we have converting tools that will do that. But you can reach out to our support, and we will help you with that. If it's most of the configuration, I would say, like if you exported both configurations from the Flex 100 and the 200, they're practically identical from a text configuration standpoint, um, and you may just have to uh, make some minor modifications to maybe where the ports are, but all the firewall rulings and kind of your policy routes and such, they probably will be the same across the board. But back to the unknown threats, it's all about making unknown files and unknown threats known so that you can then deal with that situation. So how do you do that? How do we conquer unknown security threats? Well, we use smart cloud intelligence. So unknown threats, let's say it's in a zip file somewhere that the product doesn't know, there's no signature base for it. We send it off to our cloud um, partner who then does sandboxing analysis. It puts it into a sandbox, it emulates it, it unzips it, it sees where executes any files that are there. It looks for any kind of weird patterns or behaviors. Maybe it's making connections to different servers or remote desktops or whatever it may be. Um, we can analyze that. It identifies whether it's a malicious attack or not, and then provides that information for defense intelligence, and then provides an update signature base to help protect other devices that are using the security network. So it's really a worldwide benefit. So across all products that are utilizing this partner of ours, the threat management system. Um, so it's all about that cloud intelligence. It constantly evolves. It constantly becomes better at analyzing different types of behaviors and threats and dealing with those kinds of potential attacks. And it's a global system, like I mentioned. That sandboxing, it's operated by these partners that can synchronize and detect threats on individual gateways and then use that information and shared within our cloud network. So it makes sure that all of the customers that are using this cloud environment are protected. And Zyxel is proud to be one of the first SMB market vendors to have both CVE and provider acceptance level, the numbering authorities for CNA and also for NIST National Vulnerability Database, the NVD as well. So we're the only networking company in the world with provider acceptance for both of those levels. And so what it means is that when there is a report of any kind of vulnerability or threat that is affecting the product or maybe a security issue or security hole within the device, we work with this global system in order to make the proper announcements and to share the information properly, and also to come up and there are parameters on what you have to do and what time frames to fixing the problems, depending on what kind of threat levels they are. But all those common vulnerabilities and exposures to common vulnerabilities, we then announce all that. So if you are part of, if you receive CVEs today, then you'll see that from Zyxel. If you want to make sure you get these kinds of things for all kinds of products, you should go check out the CVE.org side of it, and I think you can sign up to that, the threat kind of notification system there. Zyxel also has a notification system for security specifically. So we do send out emails within the US office, or you can be part of the My Zyxel uh, uh, side of our systems here, where it manages the licenses. If you have a security device, you would have registered, but you have to make sure that you checkbox that you want to receive this kind of information. Otherwise, we can't email blast you the information if there's a security issue. So, but you can join either the one on My Zyxel or the one from Zyxel US, and you can always check out our web page on the support side. I think there's the link to that. If not, of course, you can send me a message or to your account rep, and our marketing team has that link on where to or how to sign up. And I think you could just do it through your account rep as well and say that you want this email address to be part of your mailing list for security related issues. And we will get that to our marketing team to add you to that list. So we're talking about secure, fast protection, making sure that everything is not only secure, but do it in a way that is not holding you back from your internet connectivity that you've purchased. I think that's the number one reason why customers, are looking at this kind of product, or why we even offer such a series. We know that our USG FLEX series works great for customers today, and it's very flexible in that. But as the growing internet trend continues, people are doing more and more on the cloud. They need more and more download speed. They need more and more upload speed. That puts a lot of pressure into the local firewall. Now, I do get a question, why would you want a hardware base? I think with all the cloud services that are out there, of course, you can add this as another layer, but you still need to protect your local network in some way or fashion. So I don't think you can pretty much get rid of your local firewall. You wouldn't just say, well, I'm just going to put in, an SPI firewall at my local office and just hope for the best. Everything is going through the cloud, but the machines and devices and the phone systems, everything that's on your local network still need to be protected, even though they're accessing stuff in the cloud, right? So I think there's always that multi-layer protection that you need. But our USG FLEX 700H was the CRN Tech Innovators Winner Award for 2024. So it was considered 2024, but they basically throughout the entire year they were trying to figure out, what products would receive this kind of award. And by December, I think timeframe is when they made the official announcement of this award. And so we're proud of that, being able to offer a leading product in that. I don't have the 700 on hand, but I do have a 500, the kind of the little brother of the 700 in hand. And it's a metal housing type product. You can feel it if you do hold one of these. You know that it's just not a retail off the shelf type, rack mountable type product. They're all independently configurable ports. The main difference between the 500H the 500H and the 700H is the 700H provides you additional 10 gig uplink ports and a 10 gig SFP fiber port. They all support multi-gig, and then the yellow ports are the PoE capable ports. So you can use this if you needed to use it in an office that needed to add some Wi-Fi. Then you could just use the PoE injector ports to add an access point to this device, extend it into the area where it needs to be to provide you the coverage, and then get you off and going. So the USG FLEX 700H. How many of you, maybe I can ask that question, raise of hands, how many of you have used or have installed an H series firewall today? Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Ronald. I see a bunch of people. So it's great. So you guys are familiar with it. So I will share some information as well on some new things that have come out in the end of January that pertain to the H series, and I'm sure you'll be excited to hear that. Wayne does ask, which USG firewalls have rack mount brackets available? Everything above the 100 series. So the USG FLEX 200 and above, and the USG FLEX 200H and above. Those are the ones that have rack mount brackets available for them. So keep watching it. Some of our partners have accidentally thrown away the rack mounts because it does reside sometimes in the kind of like the carton corner piece. So they put it inside the extra space that's in between kind of the spacers. You technically, I think the power supply is there too, so you shouldn't miss it, but we have had some cases where customers did miss it or they misplaced it. Just make sure you put that aside and keep it. But the the H series high performance product here, it provides a multi-core hardware, which is why it allows for it to give you this level of security. Multi-core with fast path technology. It boosts and optimizes the protection and security protection over that network traffic. Because we are doing full UTM scanning, we can do packet level scanning of everything that's coming through. So it becomes very intensive in order to maintain that. Let's see, Doug has another question. Can we get replacement rack mounts for a USG FLEX 200? I will have to ask our HQ if they have that part code at spare. We don't typically carry them as a kind of a replacement spare. Sometimes during the manufacturing process, it's just provided at that supply chain level. So even our headquarters may not have extra rack mounts for it. But I will ask. I think we do this for our switches. We're trying to get in different rack mounts that can be more universally used. And I think the USG Flex 200 rack mounts is the same profile as the same as the USG 200 H's. And I think they probably are going to be same as the USG models back in the past, but I don't remember which model is going to be your closest match. It might be the 60, the USG Flex, or sorry, the USG 60s that might work with that. So we will check. So moving on, the products, when you're talking about the USG Flex H 200 or above, start to give you multi-gig ports. So you'll get 2.5 gig on a few of the WANs, or you'll have gigabit options with multi-gig. Or when you move to the 500 and to the 700H, you then get up to 10 gigabit ports, both fiber and copper. So the beauty of the H series, and I think part of the reasons why it's done well in terms of with this award specifically, is because it is so flexible. The whole line is flexible, but even on the product like a USG Flex 100H, the lowest level model of the H series right now, um, the ports are independently configurable. It's software defined ports, even though we predefine some ports, so there are some defaults there, but you can then change them as you wish. So whatever might logically make more sense to you to place maybe the WANs on the far left and then the LANs are then after, or however you decide, you can decide which ports do what function purpose. Though I think the only two that you kind of really can't change from a PoE perspective is the ones that are designated as PoE, because they have the appropriate hardware to manage that port. Wayne does ask, when will the H series be fully functional in Nebula? So I'll cover that later on there, Wayne. So there is already integration now. There's already added integration in that January release that I will talk about. We provide then leading edge encryption technology with our products. Things like VPN or IPv2, EAP, and SSL VPN. Now, a note on the SSL VPN, we do provide what we call Secu Extender. It's a one-time license. So it's a single license key that will work for both Windows and Mac OS. So the software will work on, you download the appropriate version, and that license can be applied, and you can use them kind of interchangeably between those two OSs if you'd like. But keep in mind the SSL VPN functionality of that secure extender that we are offering only works with the H series right now. There's only that integration that works with the UOS models. Now, of course, that client already has VPN, IPsec VPN in there. So it's kind of a moot point. We always tell customers, don't use the SSL VPN. If you already have the client anyways, you might as well use IPsec. It's a lot more secure and it's a lot faster as well. So if you're doing remote access, that's probably your best option to use, since it's already part of that Secu extender. But anything you're doing for remote access, for remote VPNs, this is the client that you can use for that. And it makes it simpler as well, because then you can leverage things like Nebula VPN now, where it can generate different types of scripts that you can send to the remote user to use to bring that device online, especially when they're using our extender software. Or you can still use those free of charge, the OS native like IPv2 VPN clients, like Strong Swan, etc. But anything else that is built into the system, you could utilize that. We don't recommend it because it is less secure, but we don't understand that some products don't have an option other than like a L2TP type protocol to get to use VPN. So of course you can do that. But nowadays, I think most apps, I think even on the Android side of things, they've moved away from that kind of VPN to ensure that you are more secure. And the product is secure in a way that it constantly evolves to those threats so that you don't have to worry about that. The network security is managed by a lot of different partners. It provides then you to have peace of mind that there are multiple layers of protection that are protecting your customers' networks. So things like sandboxing, web filtering, intrusion detection, IPS, and detection and prevention there, anti-malware, antivirus, which includes ransomware protection, cloud email security, application patrol, so you can identify different types of applications and traffic packets and use that as your definition on what to allow and what to block. Managing IP reputations for anything, for servers, for web pages, for DNS, to making sure that you're getting the appropriate, the correct IP information from these services and that it hasn't been hijacked. Geo enforcer to prevent and block traffic from IP addresses that from different countries that shouldn't be allowed to get to that network. And then managing it all in a cloud service through Amazon. So again, we work with all these partners to provide a very holistic solution, best in class security experts here to power our USG FLEX H series. So that combination of using different partners, it gives us opportunities for a lot of different types of services and licenses. Now, for you to know, when you buy a USG FLEX H series that it's bundled, so it says like BUN on the part code, it means that it comes with a 1 year full gold package license. That means everything that it comes with on this device is now opened. It's now available for 1 year. So whether you're managing it in the cloud, whether you want to use the antivirus, malware solutions, web filtering, etc., sandboxing, it's all now opened up. And that's probably your best value, I would say, and most competitive pricing that's available for these kinds of services. So anti-malware. So this is kind of a definition of each one. I won't go through each one of those, but I think the number one selling point, the number one selling services that we sell is typically the web filtering, because I think from a tangibility standpoint, uh, customers and users know what that means. Um, blocking people from going to specific web pages, etc. But the one function that I do love the most is the application patrol. That means that you can set certain types of application traffic, let's say, Skype or Netflix or things like that. You can actually decide to block those and to use that, like to use that blocking mechanism to block BitTorrent or peer-to-peer access sharing in order to then look at from a packet level on that layer 7 level to block those kinds of services and mitigate those threats, or maybe for those customers and solutions that are getting cease and desist notices from their internet service provider um, that's saying, hey, somebody on your network's downloading illegal things. That's one way to be able to block it, to block both the web pages that might exist from there and block the actual applications themselves. Or you can use the identification of the application to your advantage and say, hey, we will allow for you to use certain apps outside of business hours. So again, you get that kind of control. And with all that control, with all these different types of services, it also means that you have different opportunities for your customers to deal with maybe different aspects or challenges that they are experiencing. So again, maybe you approach a customer who has issues with their employees going to web pages and they want to make sure that they lock it down, or maybe you're using it in an application like a nonprofit or a house of worship or a school where content is you know is important on what's available to those networks. So that could be that stepping point, an entry point to providing a product like this. But then, of course, holistically, we think from a network perspective that all the other services are very important as well to provide networking, security there. But ultimately, it comes down to, well, how much of it do you want to enact? Because there are pros and cons when you do, enable some of these functions. There are certain things that might pop up in which you may have to either whitelist or blacklist, et cetera, to allow for it to be more efficient for that particular customer. But then you can use this kind of product to adapt. Um, you know, we do have this slide here that's on our pages now that kind of reiterates, and something that maybe we could provide to you as well, that how to convince your customers on why a licensed bundled product is important. You know, of course, you can still use a hardware-only product, and it still provides you with that stateful packet inspection, denial of service, still gives you VPN, hides your internet IPs from the internet, etc. But all the other UTM type services to know the threat and to be able to use that to block is what comes with part of the licensing, the bundled side of it, including the cloud, including the secure reporting, centralized management option. So the product was designed as a standalone first originally with the intent that it would always be fully manageable in Nebula. Right now, it is centrally managed via a management mode via Nebula. It's a tunnel mode, it's SSH tunnel. It goes into via Nebula's secure connection there, takes you to the interface to the device to manage the products itself. It monitors the device. You can use it to do firmware upgrades, operations. You can manage the firewall licenses. You can back up and restore configurations. And this is what I mentioned that was going to be different here, is that now with the latest release, so if you are on the UOS 1.31 firmware upgrade that was released at the end of January, you now have access to device high availability within the product. You get alert notifications and an instant awareness of different intelligent actions, real-time email alerts for critical events, performance anomalies, things like that. You get Nebula VPN, so you can simplify the VPN management for site-to-site VPN setup, and also support for like hub and spoke, and also dual WAN VPN redundancies. So meaning that if you're using a Zyxel product on one side, Zyxel on the other, and you have VPN across multiple WANs, you can do the load balancing or the failover redundancy there automatically within those two systems. But they both have to be Zyxel products right now in order for us to orchestrate that. In the future, in the near future, by the July timeframe, we can, April timeframe, we'll have a new release that then allows for you to use a third-party VPN firewall that we can do the same type of dual WAN VPN redundancy. Additionally, Nebula now supports full firewall configurations, like address, service, zone, object configurations. Automatic configuration will synchronize changes via the web configurator, and we'll sync that to the Nebula cloud. So to answer your question on how, when will it be available? It is in a sense available in Nebula. It's just that the interface in Nebula is not made to reference the configuration of the device yet, or at least not all of it yet. Though the configuration itself will be the same. We basically are making a universal configuration. So if you decide to log into the device, make a change on the GUI interface of the device, it will sync that information to the cloud. And if you decide to go through the cloud and you want to make a change, then that will also make the change and update in the cloud. So it's a single configuration. With the H series, we will eliminate the need to choose whether you want to manage this in standalone or manage this in cloud mode. There will be only one mode. It's just now how you get visibility to the configuration. So right now, you're configuring it on the device. It will sync to the cloud, but there are now these extra features like the support for firewall configurations in the VPN and et cetera that is available in the Nebula cloud today. So you just have to upgrade to that newest firmware. And then there's some other enhancement features that came as well for that. But just so you know, I will send you I will present a roadmap as well on some of these other features that you might be interested in for the H series, on what and when those will be available. But just know, April will have a new release that enhances the H series some more and brings it probably very close to it, to what you would expect or want as a full management. And then July adds some additional features, and then any kind of the smaller features, I would say, that are not wouldn't be supported in April, would then be supported in July. So the H series, the reason why we can do that with that single configuration is that we've now introduced our new OS. It's called UOS. for our firewall system, and this is going to be our kind of our system, our software moving forward for the H series and any future security products. Donald said issues with DNS over VPN. So there are some configurations that you may have to do with DNS to facilitate that. Donald, maybe I don't know the details on that specifically on your question. So maybe something that you can always send to me or to your account manager to see if support can discuss with that further. Oops, I think I hit a slide button. I don't know why it's trying to play content here. Oops, sorry. Oh, that was bizarre. Okay, so yeah, this new interface. I accidentally rolled my mouse, so then it went kind of wild here. It's a dynamic development kit here that allows for you to, the architecture allows for us to put a lot of different things. So you can see the look and feel of the USG FLEX H series. Looks and feels like Nebula. So that's kind of the idea as well. So even right now, when you do use secure tunnel mode to get to this device, you're able to then, click on manage the firewall, and it takes you to the GUI of the firewall in that interface. You can then also use it with, there's some AI features in there so that you can search for maybe different windows or areas that you need to make configurations. So it can help to get you to those pages more quickly than, going through and diving in. And then you can also bookmark basically, or put onto the dashboard kind of quick links that allow for you to get to the information that matters most to you, or maybe things that you do make configurations most often. So some of the features that I wanted to highlight and make sure that you, from a technical perspective, understand and know, and this is one of the kind of part of the best practices that we try to help partners with, is in dealing with session control. So our products have the ability to configure the maximum number of connection sessions from a single IP address. So from your either from the public side or from the device side. The reason why we do that is that it can help in case of a laptop or a machine or device, it gets compromised. And usually when a device becomes a zombie and it's basically going to be used for nefarious reasons, it typically eats up a lot of sessions trying to access, tens of thousands of IP addresses, trying to look for a host, both on the internal network and then also on the WAN internet side as well. So the problem with that is that if you left it unchecked and allowed for unlimited sessions there, then you potentially could cause an issue where that device eats up all of the sessions in your firewall, and any new sessions that are trying to get out is going to get dropped. And so you'll have clients that are not infected, they can't get access to anything. So that's something to consider. I believe now we do have a default number that's there, but you can adjust it, because I think we set it at, I think, around 1,000 sessions, which is, a session is when you open up a web page, it may open anywhere between 20 to 100 sessions. When it downloads all those ads and downloads all those little widgets that's in the web page, it makes all those connections, but then it's done. It might spike to 50 and then it becomes, 0 again, or it moves, as you need. So having 1,000 is quite a lot, because that's concurrent sessions. So that's if you were downloading like, uh, hundreds of files or whatever at a time. Now, of course, that's also to use to prevent peer-to-peer access. The session control can help to prevent that as well, because if most peer-to-peer will try to connect to hundreds or thousands of different clients out there in order to download, a single file. All the packets are coming from everywhere. So again, that can also cause stress on your network systems from a session perspective. So yeah, the default per host is 1,000. So if you do go into the security policies section of the product, there is a session control, which again, you can then decide to configure it as needed for your customer. Again, I would say like 1,000 is a lot. And so you could, if you needed to, especially in a maybe a hospitality or a hotel environment type thing, where you do have a lot of transient users and a lot of users, you might find a better number, less than that. So maybe like 500 or so, let's just say. But again, you just have to look at that. Our products also support WAN load balancing algorithms like weighted round robin, spillover, and then least load first as well. So you can utilize this on our products to do multi-WAN load balancing failover. I think that's very important from a security perspective and from a firewall perspective that you have this ability to not only use dual WAN, but then you can then go over to maybe a cellular WAN backup offering as well. And all of these products will support that. DDNS failover. So in order for you to, if your IP changes and your primary link is down, we can then move over to using the domain name instead. We can then it can fail over to another IP address and then fail back as necessary and do that proper communication there. The user authentication in the product, you can either use like a radius authentication or Active Directory or an LDAP server. And it also supports two-factor authentication with Google Authenticator right now. Right now, it's for admin access to the interface, to the GUI, or to Nebula, and then also VPN for your VPN and SSL VPN access. You can enable the two-factor authentication there. I think there's another method, another authenticator that we're using. I know from an SSL perspective, we do have also an email authenticator. So it two factors to your email address, and then you can use that to click in and agree to allow for that connection to go through. So again, just another layer of protection. And just so you know, in case you try to do VPN out of the box, the firewall has the IKE port, the UDP 500, which is used for VPN communication. Just so you know, it's disabled by default. So if there's no VPN rule or any rules or the rules are inactive, that port won't be turned on. So when you do you need to start up that port or you just need to add a rule and that port will be inactive. You don't have to worry about the command itself here to enable it, but you can see within it, you can see the current state. If you do happen to go to the CLI side. The product does have built-in CLI as well, so you could go into that level of interface to configure. So this product is great for an office environment that needs multi-gig connectivity for the local office, or even 10 gig within the local office, or maybe even a 10 gig or multi-gig internet connection. So the the configurations of the different solutions there are great. So the VPN portion of it is also important for many businesses that have multiple locations in order to make those kinds of internet connections. So this is a H series solution stack. It provides you then with multi-port, multiple multi-gig ports with PoE options. So the 100 H and the 100 HP. So the HP stands for the PoE version, and the USG FLEX 200 and the 200 HP. 200H and the 200 HP. The H is the PoE version. HP is the PoE version. But just so you know, the USG FLEX 500H and the USG FLEX 700H both come with PoE as the default. So there's no HP version of that. So technically it is, like you would think if it was a USG FLEX 500 HP, but you'll see that on the image here. It's an all-in-one VPN device, secure, managed in Nebula. It has that enhanced security functions, but without sacrificing speed. So the USG FLEX 50 H series is coming soon. We do have some of the HP models. We're doing kind of a soft launch right now for the HP of the USG FLEX 50 HP. But that boasts a UTM throughput of about, I'm going to get my pointer out, 600 megabits per second. I would say this would be great for anybody with a WAN connection, small office, that is, 250 to 300 megabits is going to be where you want to put this kind of product. Um, it does have the HP version does come with one port for PoE. Um, but on the H series with gigabit ports, the USG 100H will boast a 1 gigabit UTM. That means all the most aggressive UTM services, which is the antivirus and intrusion detection scanning. Uh, that's going to take up the most CPU, and it's going to still push you 1 gig of throughput on a on the max theoretical throughput there. So I would range this, or I would make this I would check this to be a USG Flex. Sorry, to use it for a customer that is a 500 megabits per second kind of solution, or maybe up to 600 megabits per second. I usually use a 50 to 60% throughput rating, or kind of a, what do you call it? I can't think of the word. Um, uh, that's what I use to gauge, what internet connections this is, will work for. So the USG Flex 200H series can do 1.8 gigs of UTM. So that's getting you to that 1 gig throughput of full UTM services. So I would start here if your customer has a 1 gig connection. Now, if customers start having higher than 1 gig, or maybe their customer clients, the number of clients there are larger, then you would go to the 500H, which then is a 3 gig UTM and does have 2.5 gig, 2.5 gig port uplinks. And then the 700H, which is the award-winning product here, it boasts a 4 gig UTM throughput, which then it's comfortably 2.5 gig or 3 gig of UTM services. And the product comes with two 10 gig coppers, and then additional two 10 gig fiber switches there, switch ports there. So a lot of customers may use the 2.5 gig copper on the local LAN side, and then you use the 10 gig to either go to either other buildings, or go to maybe their core, or maybe if their service provider provides them with a 10 gig fiber uplink, then that's something that they would use to connect here and maybe deliver 2.5 or even 3 gigs of WAN speed. And so this is the product that you would utilize. And I think the current street price on this with full UTM, so 1 year of licenses, giving you that multi-gig UTM capable product. I think the street price right now is, I think it's like $18.99, might be even $17.99. And so in the past, in order to get this kind of speed, you were talking, tens of 10,000 or more in terms of the product cost. So we're now being able to offer that kind of UTM services and series and performance in a small business kind of price point. Some other details on maybe the feature set or comparison. Like I mentioned before, basic. We have that basic configuration now. We have some additional Nebula monitoring features that are going to be coming. More advanced features that are going to be coming in April, and that's on the next slide. Secure Wi-Fi and remote AP and collaborative defense response functionalities will also be in that April timeframe. But this is how it kind of stacks within the different series that we have, the USG Flex. The main differences between the Flex and the USG Flex H's. The H is all about high performance. And then because in the USG Flex models, we offer both a basic UTM license, or the bundled products come with USG Flex Gold licensing. So it's similar, in terms of the feature functions for the UTM as the H series. But just remember, the H series is just probably 2.5 or more times faster than the Flex series models. So this is kind of the release plan update. We just released this one in the late January with the auto VPN function, the Nebula VPN, being able to manage port interface and objects within the Nebula already. And again, whether you choose to do it within Nebula or you do it in the web interface of the device, it's now going to be synced together. security services, site-wide management as well. And then in the April launch, we're going to be adding features for the link aggregation, support for non-Nebula VPN, connectivity and synchronization, especially for that uh, uh, dual failover scenarios. We'll add NAT routing, security policies, firewall like DNS, SIP, ALG, things like that, firewall rule configurations within the interface. Uh, Again, keep in mind, you can configure all of these now within the device through the tunnel mode. So these features are already there. It's just that now it's going to be part of the Nebula view of that configuration. From the on-prem, we are adding some additional features. So the link aggregation, routing traces, and some functionalities there within the April release, and also captive portal. So that was something that was a question for the past year, is if the USG FLEX H's would have any kind of captive portal functions, and that's going to be coming in April. On the Nebula side, again, also application and client usage monitoring information, and then a la carte secure Wi-Fi license. So for customers who are using it primarily just for VPN and don't want to use any of the UTM functions, they can buy the security Wi-Fi license, secure Wi-Fi license separate. It's included in the bundle, the gold package now. So again, if you have the full bundle, then you don't have to worry about the a la carte side. In July, we'll then add some additional functions to the standalone, like DNS safe searching, MS Exchange to support OAuth, CDR, and then on the Nebula side, we'll have schedule reboot capabilities, CDR as well from the Nebula side, and then some additional summary reports. And then October, we have some additional things planned, including Nebula side device HA status and topology information. Again, a lot planned. So you'll see, even more things manageable within the H series starting in April. So the Gold Security Pack, again, it gives you all those services that we mentioned, as well as Nebula Pro. But one thing we want you to know is that now we've added to the H series, even if you buy the base pack, we will give you what we call Essential Pack. It will give you some DDNS services. It will do some level of DNS threat filtering, URL filtering, IP reputation on the product to, again, give it some level of security, as well as cybersecurity monitoring and log retention in the base pack. So even if you don't buy the bundle, we believe that you should have at least some level of security. Wayne said schedule reboot. Hooray, needed thing. So I'm glad that's something that will help you there, Wayne. And then just so you know, to help you, if you are currently using products like the USG FLEX models and you want to get to the USG FLEX H series, we've just also launched our automated configuration migration tool. So you can go to our web page, and I think under the support side, or even under the actually under each model, like on the, let's say, 500H series, at the very bottom there'll be a configuration migration tool. So it allows for you to choose from the kind of approved paths to go from, let's say, a USG FLEX 100 to a USG FLEX 100H or HP, and you can put your configuration in there, and then it will convert it to the the H versions. So you can see that kind of path there. So you can go there and find out which models, which path that we have available to you to making that. Now, one very important piece of information that I wanted to share with you is Zyxel's commitment to security hardware. So these definitions will apply, and this is what we stand by, and for you to have peace of mind when you sell our products. So at some point, a product will be named, end of sale or end of marketing date. Some people may call it EOL, but it maybe not full EOL. It's end of marketing, meaning that we will stop selling it at some point. And when we announce that date, you'll get some sort of marketing information, email notification. Of course, we'll probably be running, different promos if there is a, equivalent product that you need to upgrade to. So after that end of marketing, 2 years after that end of marketing is the end of development, meaning from that date forward, there's no new features or enhancements that are going to be developed. We're just going to focus on any critical issues that might impact that device operation or the stability of it. So we want to make sure that it's functionally well. So, you know, but after that first 2 years, it's just no new features except for the ones that are there. We will maintain them. End of vulnerability is 5 years after the end of the marketing date. Also, our products come with a lifetime warranty, and that is part of the lifetime warranty is that when it is basically end of marketing, we will support the product for 5 years after from a hardware perspective. From the end of for end of vulnerability, meaning that at that same 5 years of after the end of marketing date, we will commit to fixing critical security vulnerabilities if there are CVEs that are out there, or if there's anything that impacts the UTM services that are on the product, we will fix. So we'll make sure that those are not impacted during this time. And then when we finally say the product is end of life, which is 5 years after that marketing date, we will no longer commit. There may be still support, but we no longer are committing to patches or things like that, including the software, potentially the software licensing services there after the 5 years may no longer work, or we can't guarantee that that's going to work. Again, we don't know, until that time frame comes, whether or not we can support it or not. But that's going to be the case. But you at least will have, even let's say we did end of market a product today, you can still enjoy that product for at least 5 years, for 5 years from now, and make sure your customers can still have that services for 5 years at least. I think most contracts are 3 years, so it should more than cover those kinds of scenarios if you have a contract with your customers. Then from a licensing perspective, it kind of mirrors that as well. So when we stop selling the licenses, we might announce it earlier a little bit so that we could sell through it. And there's going to be an end of registration date, basically because you have 1 year licenses available to renew. So 4 years after there's like an end date where the last date that you can register. I guess technically we could let you register, with 9 months, 9 months left in terms of end of life, and then you'll only get 9 months of service. But we don't want you to do that. So we'll set a end of registration date, which is a year before the end of life. But at least again, you'll be supported for 5 years after that. So this is kind of just a visual picture, I guess, of what I just said. And all of our products are, and this award-winning product is available in our award-winning Nebula Cloud platform, being able to manage that. And so we're proud that our product is in that same space. So if you want to learn more about Nebula, you can go to nebula.zyxel.com or attend one of our monthly Nebula webinars. And then if you are a partner with us or haven't been a partner or looking at signing up to be a partner, we want you to join our program. It gives you discounts there at distribution. So these are all the distribution partners that we work with. If you'd like to connect with us, you can connect with us in LinkedIn, Zyxel-US-channel, or you can watch this video or any of our other videos at Zyxel America channel. Or if you'd like to connect directly with me on LinkedIn, you can just search for Zyxel Tri, T-R-I, and you will find me there. And since we are only 1 minute left to the top of the hour, I think we'll just say, if you do have any questions, again, thank you for the questions that you did send to me in line there. But if you do have any additional questions and thoughts that maybe come up later on, you feel free to email me, try@zyxel.com. That's TRI@zyxel.com. And I think we will probably just end it there so you can have that extra minute of your day back. I appreciate you attending and spending the time this afternoon with me. And we look forward to seeing you at another Zyxel Tech Talk. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody.